Okay, guys, I was going through some exercises in Itzik's book again, Microsoft SQL Server T-SQL Fundamentals, and I really thought this one was interesting. It's you've got an orders table, and what you want to do is return a list of all orders made on the last day of any month of any year. So that really intrigued me. You go through a lot of different options when you're trying to think about how to do this. I was thinking, okay, what are our options? We could make a lookup table, go through for those years that the order table covers and have a lookup table of all the last days in the month. Well, of course you don't want to do something like that because it's not something you want to maintain, and it's not efficient, and it's not SQL. Thought about doing it a little bit more programmatically, having some sort of reference table. And again, it's not that you can do this programmatically. You can do it with a query. It's going to take a little bit of thinking. So how do you think through what turns out to be a complicated little problem? We don't have a max day of month function provided to us by SQL. So you've got to go in and figure out what we want. I mean, you've got that in .NET. You can write yourself a CLR function to cover this, but right now we're talking about a purely, homegrown, old school SQL solution for this, and we can do it. So you see some code up here, and this is sort of the final solution. But we're kind of going to go through all this again, as I was kind of the way I did when I was thinking through it. So let's start simply. I'm actually even going to type it all out again. Let's declare ourselves a couple of things. Declare date, small date, time, and let's declare ourselves. I'm going to say what you think about is, okay, how to get the last day of the month. Well, it's easy enough to find the first day of the next month and then do a date add -1 on the day. That'll get you, that's the solution right there. And I was just kind of glancing around at the SQL functions to get inspiration, and that's it. It gets a little bit more complicated to implement, but so what we're looking for starters is first day of next month. And yeah, I'm going to type all that out because it helps me keep track of what I'm doing. Small date time. We're going to go ahead and set date equal to get date. Keep it simple. Now, finding first day of next month. Oh, hello. We could use a little set right there, couldn't we? Okay, and you guys know that when you have a complex problem, even though it's a simple idea, and we've already said the solution, it's a fairly simple solution, it's a little bit complex to implement. You want to take it step by step. So what are the things that we want to do? We want to, simply we want to find the last day of this month. And how do we do that? We find the first day of next month and then -1 day. Well, if you write it out in pseudocode like that, it becomes fairly easy to translate it into regular code. So, find the first day of next month. How are we going to do? Let's do that by adding 1 month, changing day to 01. Okay. Whoops. So there's our pseudocode. So how do we add 1 month to our current date? Well, date add month 1 date, right? That's simple enough, and that'll give us, today is 6/31, so that'll give us 7/31 right there. Now, how do we change that day to 01? And I guess I should go ahead and show here that if we've got date add, select date add, why is that giving me a funny look? Select date add month 1 date. Oh, I just did the whole thing, didn't I? Hang on. You know, I've done that time and time and time again. When I go to run something, I forget that if you've got a variable, you need to run the whole thing, that whole part where it says, you know, declare the variable. But okay, now that I've gotten the whole thing, we can see that date add, it adds month, one, date. It adds one to the month. And interestingly enough, and this is something that we're going to take into account, today's the 31st. Well, I added 1, and of course June doesn't have a 31st in it, so it sets it to 30. Well, that means when we change, the way we're going to formulaically change 1 to the day to 1, it kind of has to take into account, you have to change the day, in other words, before you change the month. And now, backing up a minute, we considered, listen to me in the second person, me and my dog considered trying to do a date part and just saying, okay, date part month plus 1 plus date part year. You know, that's kind of a pain in the butt. It's not elegant. It's too much work for what we're doing. Let's go ahead and stick with the functions that Microsoft saw fit to give us for dealing with dates. So let's talk about, very simply, subtracting the day from the day. What I mean by that is, let's say, and we're going to split this out separately here for a moment. Let's say that we've got the date here. What we want to do is add, date add, the date to itself, so to speak. Whoops, sorry. It's late. Why do I always do these midnight DBA videos at midnight? We want, if today's the 31st, basically we want to add negative 31 to it to make it 0 and then add 1. So we want date part, date here, and then multiply that by negative 1 to make it negative, right? So right now we've got date add the day. This is going to come out to be negative 31 to our date, which is the 31st. Well, you know, we don't want it down at 0, we want it at 1. So let's parenthesize this little bit right here, the one that would come out to negative 31, and say plus 1. Now, let's take that part by part just in case it's midnight whenever you're listening to this, and we'll make it very clear. Let's comment out anything that we're not going to use right away, and we'll add it back in as it becomes useful. So we're going to select just the date part here, where we said, okay, I want to find out whatever the day it is, and then make it negative, right? And Jen, you have to remember to include the bit where you declare the date. There we go. Okay, double dumbass on me. Not only do I have to declare it, but I have to set it. Guys, please be understanding. I'm really not this stupid. I'm really, really not. Okay. All I wanted to do was illustrate a point. Okay, we declare, we set. I'm sitting here going, why won't that work? Why is it null? It worked before. Yeah, it's because I'm stupid. Okay. Okay, we're starting out with declaring, setting the date. Ah, there we go. Today is the 31st. So, I'll go ahead and prove that to you, by the way. There we go. Okay, so today is 5/31. What we did here is we did a date part on the day. We got the date, 31st, and we made it negative, so negative 31. We're going to use that. We're going to make it, let's see. I got to reference what I did before, because I worked it all out, but then I got dumb, apparently. So, okay, so good. So, you know, number one, we've get the day of month, make it negative. 2, we're going to add it to current date. That'll equal out to 0. add 1. Simply speaking, that's the process to make the day of month 1, right? So let's uncomment out the rest of this that we pulled down from before. There we go, +1. This will get us, got to run the whole thing with the declare, ha ha ha. Right, with this simple little thing, we have gone from 531 to 51, yay. We have made 31 negative, we'd added 1 to it, and we've said, okay, date add negative 31 plus 1, so negative 30 to the date, which means we're now at 1. Got it? Got it. Good. All right. That was the first part of it. The next part is changing the month, which, as it turns out, is the easy part, because, like I said before, all we're doing is date adding, here we are, date adding a month to this newly changed date. Let's go ahead and copy this and run it up there, right? Let's see, we've gone up to the top, we've said declare, we've gotten the get date, and here's the whole thing. So here's the part we just went over after I quit making all my mistakes. To make it, here's the part we just went over to make the day 0, and here's where we date add to add a month. And run that whole thing. Ah, what? A misplaced, yeah, an extra little parenthesis. There we go. Okay, so we have changed the data 1, we have changed the month to the next month, and we see that we found it. We found the first day of next month. Well, originally, what I did, I said, okay, great. I found the first day of next month. I'll go in and compare it. Oh, good, I already erased that. I'll say if date diff, if the date difference by day between my date and the first day of next month is 1, then I have found the last day of the month, which, by the way, is faulty logic, because I might have found the second day of the next month, which is no good. But anyway, it's also a separate step, and that's not what you want. You want it all incorporated together. So you add it to the same thing. We want the last day of this month. So, okay, we've got first day of next month equal to this. So next month, day 1. All you have to do to get the last day of this month is same thing. You start with the date. You see the date add month here. That's right here. Date add month. Okay, -1. -1 day. That'll be the last day of this month, right? And let's go ahead and put that in our declaration real quick, or I'm going to get lots more errors. Okay. So now let's select date as date. Let's do our little thing. This one as itself, and last day of the month as itself, and see if we come up with something beautiful. Today's date is the 31st. If we want the first date of next month, it's the 1st, and the last of this month, we have programmatically found out that it is 5/31. So we have discovered that we happen to be on the last day of this month. Okay, so having found this programmatically, we've gotten our formula worked out. Last day of this month. You plug it into your query. Okay, I want order ID, order date, customer ID, employee ID from sales orders, where order date equals our formula. And notice I have changed at date to order date in both places where it's required. Run this, and voila, take a look at our beautiful little list of orders on the last day of each month. Now, interesting thing, I did find another way to do this. I'm sure there are several ways to do this online, and it was just as interesting. Let me go ahead and dig that up real quick. Okay, so here's the solution I found that was online, And this presents us with an interesting opportunity. We've just gone through, jumping around a little bit, but how to think your way through a problem, breaking it down step by step, and then building the query up a piece at a time. Let's do the reverse. We've got an existing solution. Let's deconstruct it a bit at a time and try to work out what it means to us, what it's saying to us. With these nested functions, I really tend to find that going from the inside out is the absolute best way to be, because it's like, it's like those old math problems where you've got, this plus this and this times this, all within nested parentheses. Well, you've got to deal with the innermost one first. It's the exact same thing. So let's take a look at this. Whoops. Jump up here. Okay, let's select, and instead of using date, we're just going to go with get date, so I don't have to keep on including my declaration. Okay, so let's select date diff month 0 get date. What on earth does that mean? We get 1312. Well, 0, again, for those of you familiar with date diff, you realize that here's the date part we're using. This is the start date we're supposed to be comparing against, and here's the end date. Well, 0 takes it all the way back to whatever the beginning of the data type range is. In this case, somewhere around the turn of the century, right? Not this last one, but the one before. So we've got 1312 months, or if you like, 109 years difference between 0 and the date we're comparing. So cool. That's what they're doing for starters. And then there's a +1. So what we've got here is we're this 1313 months, 1,313 months away from 0. Now the key, as it's looking to be, to this equation is consistency. You see here we've got a date add, and they're adding to 0. So we've just selected some point in time, 0, to compare our date against. We're going to get the number of months away, add 1, and then add it back again, and that'll get us to, whoops, I did it again, get date, there we go. And that'll get us to, the start of the next month. Funny, that's what was one of our goals in our formula we just did. But now there's more to it, because of course we want to compare to the last of the month, not the first of the month. So we're going to just date add a -1 day, and that'll take us back to the end of the month. So if we go ahead and run the full internet solution, stop that, get date. I think I'd wise up by now. Ta-da, the end of the current month. I'd have to say this is a more elegant solution than ours, but there's value in thinking through more than one way to do something, and there's definitely value in looking up the answer on the internet and figuring out how that works. Now, from the book, Itzik's solution is even more elegant than that, even though it's kind of on the same principle. Here we were comparing against a fixed date, 0, right? Well, here he's comparing against a fixed date, 1991, and I've actually changed this, so I'm going to change it back now. December 31st, 1999. Again, let's go ahead and take this from the inside out and see what we can make of it, right? So let's take away everything but this innermost date diff, which as it turns out isn't much. Let's see. We've only got 2 functions going on here, which is great. Okay, so if you select date diff against how many months away is get date from December 31st, 1999. Well, it's 113 months away. Wonderful. What we were talking about before, if you remember up here, how you have to be careful, where was that? You have to be careful to change the day to 1 before adding one month, because there can be unintended consequences when you, let's say, like today, we're on the 31st of the month. If you date add a month to May 31st, you're going to come up with June 30th. This particular solution takes advantage of that in a slightly different way, but it's still the same thing. We're finding out how many months away we are from this date, and then adding that many months to that date, you automatically come up with the last of the month. Was that clear? No? Okay, well hang on and we'll go through it again. Okay, so to clarify that just a little bit, let's go ahead and put some notes down real quick. So let's start with today's date is 5/31/2009. If you take that date, 5/31, and add 1 month to it, you're going to get 6/30/2009. We've changed the date part. That's something that's the difficulty in finding the last day of the month. It's a little bit unpredictable. When we start with a fixed date that has the biggest possible day, in this case 12/31/1999, 31, that's the biggest possible date a month can have, then you add months to it, you automatically get whatever the maximum is for that month. So if we start with 1999, December 31st, let's add 2 months to it, you're going to get, we'll add 3 months to it, you're going to get March 30th, because I can't remember whether 2000 was a leap year. And that's our magic max day of month function that he's taken advantage of here. And it's just brilliant and elegant and short. I absolutely love it. So there you go. If that doesn't make any sense at all, send me tons of emails and tell me you need to explain things better. But we've got 3 different solutions, each progressively, I think, more elegant, and they're all just wonderful. So let's go ahead and plug this, the most elegant of solutions, into our query. Remember, we were originally looking for orders, so select these things from sales orders where order date, oh look, I already plugged it in, is equal to this function, let's see, order date, and we're going to get all the orders placed on the last days of the month. That's all I've got for right now, so we'll do more on working through problems and deconstructing queries in the future. But for now, that's all I got.